For Toad's pants, I just used some white scuba stretchy fabric that I had in the cupboard. I bought the pattern for a few dollars and it was really simple to put together. I just made sure I folded the fabric over, pinned the pattern on the top, and then cut both legs out at the same time. Once I'd cut both legs out, make sure you mark front and back on both legs. And then I did a zigzag stitch along the both bottom raw edges just to ensure the fabric didn't stretch and warp. And then to join the legs together, I turned one the right way out and then lined up the two side seams and then pinned the inside and just sewed around the U shape. I did that twice just to make sure that there was no seam popping open when Toad was jumping around. To do the waistband, I just turned the pants inside out again and did a zigzag stitch across the top raw edge. And then I folded it down about 1 inch, 2.5 centimeters, and then pinned the waistband all the way around. I find the quickest way is just to fold the pants in half and then match them once one side is done. But obviously it's not very precise. And then I stitched along the inside raw edge with a zigzag stitch, making sure I left enough space to be able to thread my elastic all the way through. I followed the instructions with the elastic length. I found it was really quite long, so you might have to try them on first and then make the waistband a little bit smaller, which is what I had to do before I went back and closed up the hole in the waistband. It's the exact same process for the cuffs. I left about 1 centimeter because I was using thinner elastic. The measurements from the pattern came out perfect for the bottoms. I didn't need to adjust that bit at all. For the vest, I used an old pattern that I had to make a suit jacket. You could probably use the free pattern that I used further on for the long sleeve top and just cut the front down the middle. I used blue scuba fabric again. I just did a basic zigzag stitch across the shoulder seams and then down the side. And then I went back and folded in the sleeves and just sewed around the inside edge to make it a bit neater, but I left all of the other edges raw so I could add the ribbon on in the next bit. My local Spotlight didn't have the right shade of yellow in the haberdashery ribbon, so I bought this ribbon from the party section. But if I did it again, I would probably go to a different store and find the correct shade of yellow. This one was only $2, so it kept fraying. So once I stitched it all together, I had to use a lighter just to singe all the edges and keep it from falling apart. To attach it, I just pinned it on, and then I did a straight stitch along the furthest edge, and then I turned around and sewed all the way back up the other way. I didn't sew around the back neck, I just did the front faces of the vest, just for ease. For Toad's body, I found a free pattern which was actually really simple to follow the instructions, and I just had some skin toned as close to Toad's skin as I could find, and I just followed the instructions and worked my way through that. There was no grading. I found that the pattern fit perfectly for the size that I needed. I find the easiest way to put sleeves in is to sew the sleeves together first, right sides together. And then I turn the sleeve the right way in once I've matched it up to the right side of the body. And then using the seam of the body and the underseam of the vest, of the sleeve, I pin all the way around and then stitch together. And I find I have less wrong sleeves on wrong sides of bodies doing it that way. And then to do the neck, I sewed about an inch inside the raw edge, just with a straight stitch. And then I folded that over And then I did another straight stitch to sew as close to the raw edge of the folded over neckline as I could get. And I found that made it stable enough to wear as a costume. If I was going to wear it as a top, I'd probably spend more time on it, but it wasn't necessary. I just got this ball from my local toy store. To deflate it, I put a piece of masking tape over the top, and then I cut a tiny hole in, and I had this hat laying around that no one was wearing. And you'll see that there was masking tape along the edge. That's just to stop the ball splitting. The first time I did it, I just cut into it and then the ball split straight open. I just cut a straight line across to make sure my hat would fit in. And then because I knew that I had to stitch it on and I didn't want it to split again, I turned it inside out and lined it with painter's tape, I think, or masking tape, just making sure that there was no wrinkles and it was staying as ball shaped as possible. And then I just used some embroidery floss to hand stitch it all the way around really badly. Just make sure when you're doing it, you're staying within the width of the masking tape to make sure the ball doesn't split. It gets a bit sticky from the tape, so you might have to use some pliers and just add bits of fluff. I just used excess stuffing from last year's costume to make sure it's as smooth as possible as you go all the way around. Once it's all secure and attached to the hat, I went around and trimmed off all the excess tape and hat. And then I just used a lighter to singe the elastic edges. I painted it with white house paint. I did try spray paint, but it wasn't adhering to the ball properly. So I did 3 coats of just white masonry paint. And then for the red, I just used a bowl I had, made sure I put it in the center, and then 2 on the side, with a smaller one on the top, and then just used ordinary red acrylic paint. 3 or 4 coats, I think I did. Lastly, I had these shoes from Big W for $2.50, and I just used regular brown acrylic paint. 1 coat I think was good enough, and then I let them dry overnight. They didn't seem to crack, which was good. Once they were dry, I mixed the same brown paint with some PVA wood glue and just painted on the bottom. all up, the costume took maybe 3 or 4 hours, including cutting out the patterns and sticking them together. And here we have a toad in the wild. Thanks for watching.